Is freelancing about to become completely unaffordable? You might not see it yet, but the trade war started by the Trump administration can directly increase the cost of your tools, software, and damage your clients' budgets. As an accountant working closely with freelancers, I've seen how these changes make it harder to stay profitable. So in this video, I'm going to show you how global policies can affect you and what you need to do about it. A few weeks ago, President Donald Trump launched a full-scale trade war with the entire world, and just days after, he backed down for the next 3 months.
Thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line, they were getting yippy.
Except on China. The problem here is the uncertainty that puts your equipment and subscription cost at risk of rising by hundreds of pounds if negotiations collapse. Imagine saving up for months to upgrade your equipment and finally having enough cash to buy just to find out that the price has jumped by a few £100. And it's not just about cameras. It could also affect laptops, drones, software, and other electronics that freelancers rely on for their work. Here's why this happens. Okay, this map is not true to scale, but you should understand what I mean. So, if global companies like Sony and Canon get hit with tariffs from America, that means their equipment becomes more expensive there because now retailers such as Amazon, B&H or Best Buy will need to pay, for example, 20% tariff on all the equipment that goes into the country, into the USA. And on their side, they're passing the cost along to the consumers, which is ourselves. Now, I know what you're thinking. We live in Europe or we live in the UK. Why do we care that the Americans are gonna pay higher prices for their equipment? Because once people over there pay these inflated prices, that's the new minimum, that's the new price floor. And UK retailers understand that if they're still selling something for 2,000, they can increase it by a few £100 without losing any competitiveness, because the biggest market in the world now is paying these higher prices. Do you remember how during the you can't go outside crisis, the price of food skyrocketed because of supply chain issues? And even after things returned back to normal, those food prices never came back down. This is what I believe is gonna happen here, because people just get used to the higher prices and just end up paying them. Another reason why I believe cameras and other equipment will go up is to keep things fair between countries. Imagine Fortnite raising the price of the Agent Peely skin to $25 in the US, while still charging just £10 in the UK. US players will feel ripped off and likely start turning to other games. So what's Fortnite likely to do? They will rebalance the price of Agent Peely globally, so it feels fair across regions. Even if nothing changed in the UK, the price will still go up to protect the system. That's exactly what happens when global companies raise prices worldwide after a tariff hits a major market like the US. And if you're thinking about upgrading your equipment, now might be a good time to do it. But it's not just hardware. Subscription costs would be going up too, with companies like Microsoft, Canva and Adobe all increasing their prices. Many of these are essential to your work and not easy to cut back on. And in my experience, subscription costs make up the bulk of my clients' expenses, so it's something you must keep an eye on. But what's most concerning is that your clients are feeling the economic pressure too. Businesses want to operate in a stable and predictable environment. And if they can't predict how trade wars will impact their business, they might choose to cut their budgets or delay your services. You end up getting squeezed from both sides. You're paying more to run your business, they're paying less to use your services. It's like being in the middle of a sandwich, and both sides are pressing in hard. But the reality is, no one knows what's going to happen. And as a freelancer, and more importantly, a business owner, you need to make sure you can weather the storm. Okay, but how do you know if your freelance business could keep running if things suddenly got more expensive or less stable? Here's a quick way to find out. Take what you earn in a typical month and divide it by 2. If your costs are eating more than this number, you're not in a very good position. And if that applies to you, your first step is to know your numbers inside and out. You need to understand exactly how much it costs you to run your business, not rough estimates or I think it's about that much. Track all your expenses: subscriptions, software, gear, insurance, storage, marketing, studio space, anything tied to your business. Because if you don't know where your money is going, you can't make any smart decisions about your pricing, growth or cutting costs. And more importantly, how do you even know if you're still profitable? Once you know what you're spending, look at it line by line. Are you still using that subscription? Are you paying for multiple tools that do the same thing? Are you paying annual prices for services you barely use? This isn't about cutting corners or downgrading your client experience. It's about keeping what adds value and cutting what doesn't. But then if your costs are going up and your prices aren't, you're losing money. Simple as that. How do you even determine your pricing if you don't know what profit you need so you can run a successful business? You need to start thinking like a business owner who is strategic about his pricing, not a freelancer afraid of losing a client. Clients aren't just paying for your time, they're paying for the full services you provide: the gear, the software, the quality and the reliability. So when these things get more expensive to maintain, your pricing should reflect that. Key idea I want to send across is you need to feel confident that the way you run your business business isn't just helping you get by, it's helping you build something meaningful, something that gives you security, and just as importantly, gives your loved ones security too, because they're counting on you. And the only way to do that is by treating your freelance work like a real business. Not something you just do, but something you build, protect, and grow with purpose. Because the world will keep shifting, global politics will keep changing for better or for worse. But how prepared you are is entirely up to you. If you're serious about turning your freelance business into something more sustainable, click the link in the description to book a call with me. And if you're ready to escape the freelancer's trap, you can watch the video here.